Hello everyone, welcome to another Jack Vlog. I'm Kirikai, and today we're talking about episode 95 of Samurai Jack Season 5. So before we get into today's episode, I thought I'd address the elephant in the room. We did not get this episode last week. The reason why is because last week was April Fool's Day, and instead of airing, because if you follow Adult Swim, or have been following Adult Swim for a while, you know that they tend to pull little pranks every year. In 2012, we all know that was the year when they showed, instead of showing The Room, Tommy Wiseau's The Room, yes, you're tearing me apart, Adult Swim, yeah, that one. Instead, they showed the Toonami block. Like, they just ran Toonami with Steve Bloom and the Tom 3 design, classic stuff like that. They aired Dragon Ball Z, and they just went with it. It was a very bizarre thing to do, but it was also really fun to watch. And, of course, we got Toonami eventually later after. I know that another prank they pulled was that they had the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie on the bottom. Like, just, they were going to show, like, a sneak peek, but they did play the whole movie, but the secret was that they just played it in, like, the corner bit of the video. Like, you could barely see it amongst all the other shows that they were playing in the background. And that was something. But, what does this have to do with Samurai Jack? Well, last Saturday, April 1st, they aired Rick and Morty, the Season 3 premiere, for 12 hours straight. And it was really cool. I'll admit, it was a really good episode. It was unexpected, really, to see the episode appear this soon. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. It's got, like, all the cool jokes. You got Justin Roiland, like, improv like crazy, and it's hilarious. I love it. But on the other hand, if you were a fan of Samurai Jack and Dragon Ball Super, and you were a newcomer to the series, or a longtime fan, and you were wanting to watch the episodes weekly, strictly weekly, by Toonami when they first air, well, you had to wait another week, cause they did not air it. No, Rick and Morty took over that time slot, and none of the Samurai Jack fans got to watch it, which, when I found out about it, I was pretty upset when I found out about that. I was kind of disappointed that they did that. I mean, on one hand, dude, it's a good episode. It was a good Rick and Morty episode. But on the other hand, Samurai, I like to think of it like this. I would have been willing to wait a few more months for the Rick and Morty Season 3 premiere, because it literally is like, summer's not even that far away. We just have to wait like 2 more months, and then we're good. But we've had to wait a year and a half to get any new episodes for Rick and Morty, and that's understandable. But with Samurai Jack, we've had to wait about 13 to 12 years, and we're trying to follow this. And even though this isn't necessarily, it's been a week since at the time that this episode came out, it had been a week. This was the opportunity to get the proper conclusion to this character that we've been waiting for, like, eons or whatever. And yeah, so yeah, that happened. It kind of sucked. A lot of people were pissed off about it, and yeah, that happened. So personally, I think what would have been funnier is if they had Rick and Morty take over the Toonami block. Like, if not play episodes, that's not what I mean. But if they had, like, puppet versions of Rick and Morty, instead of, like, having Tom be the narrator or whatever, have Rick and Morty, like, just take over Toonami and say, hey, what do we got next, Morty? It's just a show about a guy with powers to, like, shoot out of his hands. It means, oh yeah, Dragon Ball Super, the one that has all the crappy animation, right? No, actually, it's gotten a lot better since the Blu-rays came out. Yeah, you know what I'm getting at. It would have been funny if they did that, but they didn't do that, so... Again, don't want to hang on it too long. The episode's out. My rant is over. I hope if Adult Swim does anything like this again, that they try to be careful with what shows they block over, because they really pissed off a lot of people when they did that. So anyway, alright. Rant's done. Time to talk about the episode. Episode 95. So we immediately pick up right after what happened in the previous episode, where Jack basically killed a bunch of the daughters of Aku during their big battle in the snow. And he encounters Ashi at one point, who has this like chain rope or whatever, and you see the whole deal where like she's hanging off the ledge and going, "You're scum! You must die, samurai!" And then Jack's like, "Fuck this!" And then he just drops her, and then she falls all the way down. And then as he's about to walk off, the piece of wood that he's standing on breaks, and then he falls down. But thankfully for him, the wood that broke, he started to fall on a bunch of branches that broke his fall, and he did not die from said fall. So he started to but then immediately when he wakes up, though, we get this like haunting image, like a sudden nightmare where he just like and then we see like a mini flash of like Ashi like with an Aku face going after it, and then it's gone, and it's like, whew, that was something. Oh my god. And then after that happens, Jack just walks across, and then he sees a trail of blood, and well, what do you know? It's Ashi laying on the ground, and then he hears a bunch of birds going, "Murderer! Murderer! Murderer!" like over and over. It just keeps shouting over and over. And at first I couldn't make out what the birds were saying, but then when they started to enunciate the words, they said, "Murderer! Murderer!" And I was like, oh shit, Jack's losing it again. And then he was just like, "No! They chose this path!" And then complete silence. Which means he's going nutty again. And so yeah, that happens. Jesus Christ, I gotta learn how to set up this camera properly. So anyway, that happens. Ashi wakes up after Jack loses it, tries to kill Jack again. Doesn't work. He fends off himself. He defends himself from Ashi and pretty much just ties her up into her own weapon, having her hanging from a tree going, and Ashi's just trying to like, trying to kill him, like reaching out like a little kid being tied to a tree. and Jack's just like saying, "You are a most misguided woman, aren't you?" And she's just going, "You must die! You must die! You're scum!" And it's like, you're repeating yourself. And it's just, yep, definitely not straying to what... It's very clear that Genndy has kept Jack's sense of humor. He's definitely found it again. Like I said in the previous episode, he is slowly but surely finding his way again. And so anyway, after that happens, an earthquake starts to erupt, and then they find out that the land that they just fell on was a giant monster, and it opens its mouth and then swallows them whole. They end up inside of the monster, and they pretty much... It becomes then on, they have to find a way out. And yeah, most of the episode is Jack fights off a bunch of creatures. Ashi continually insults him over and over, but Jack tries to help her out, even though his inner conscience and his lack of sanity and all this other shit that he's been dealing with right now is telling him, no, it's not worth it. She's pure evil. Especially we get to see inner Jack again. This time he's not blue or as freaky looking as the last time, and he's just like, he's just basically just being this wise ass and this jerk or whatever, saying, oh, he's... I can't really remember like what he said off the top of my head, just because I just watched the episode right now, but he's just like saying, we've got to get out of here. Don't waste your time. She's pure evil and stuff like that. And of course, through the majority of the episode, he carries her around, tries to protect her, and eventually, yeah, they do. And eventually, they do get out, and they land on this island where, once again, Ashi is entranced by the beauty of the world. She sees this ladybug fly around, and then she has this flashback to when she was a kid, when she also played with Ladybug, but then the Grand Mistress, who I'm pretty sure gave birth to her, I don't remember if that was correct or not, pretty much just said, this is not a part of Aku's order, and squished the bug. And yeah, that was something. I mean, I'm pretty eerie with bugs, but ladybugs, I've sort of like, I just leave them alone because they're not hurting anybody. And Jack, what do you know? The ladybug comes up to him, and then he just sort of touches it, and then lets it fly away, being very gentle. And then, because Ashi was planning to kill him with the blade thing again, but then he was just like, you know what? And then she just drops it, and then they just rest on the island, and that's the end of the episode. So overall, yeah, this was a pretty good episode, I will say. I know I usually like go over the whole episode in depth, but this time I wanted to just like give a brief overview, just because not a lot of stuff happens, but there is a lot of character-driven moments, I'd say. It's not action-oriented, because if this was more action-oriented, then I would be going into more detail about what happened. But I will describe some of my favorite things and a lot of stuff I liked about this episode. For one thing, Jack and Ashi's relationship in this was very interesting. How their camaraderie, well, or lack thereof, one-sided camaraderie, whatever you want to call it. Because, like I said before, Ashi just wants to kill Samurai Jack because she's much like Jack said, she is misguided. She was treated into this cult that for all her life she has been trained to kill the samurai, and it's the only thing that she knows. And Jack multiple times tries to sit her down, say, you need to sit your ass down. I need to tell you, like, Aku is pure evil. He's the reason why all of this land is in ruin. I'm not the bad guy here. I'm trying to help you out. And Ashi just won't have it until perhaps what you'd say at the very end, when she's just like, whatever, I'll just go with it. And yeah, I think it's safe to say a lot of people have made jokes about it over and over, and I guess gotta point it out. Ashi has a nice butt. She really does. I think it's safe to say that, because, like, in the first few episodes of this season, all the girls had, like, this, figure or whatever, and they didn't show much prominence or whatever on their, like, body parts or anything like that. But you could tell when they were once they were inside the beast, whoever was doing the art direction, Scott Wheels or Genndy, whoever's directing that, they put a lot of emphasis. Like, there's a point where she's, like, fucking laying on her back or whatever, like, when she's laughing at the fact that, oh, you're gonna die, samurai, because we're inside this monster. And then she's laying on her back or whatever, and she has her butt sticking out, and it's like, oh my god. No complaints here, but oh my god. It'll probably be the thumbnail of this vlog. Probably just take that image wherever I can find it. And there are probably going to be comments posted everywhere. Just more people making that one meme. Because, like, there's a meme going around right now with the Aku going, extra thick! And they're probably going to do that with Ashi's butt. So, we'll see what happens there. Anyway. With what little action scenes there were in this episode, the few they had were pretty fun. Ashi and Jack's little battle was pretty fun and funny as well, when you just see her sliding around, swinging around in her chain or whatever. And Jack's encounter with the antibody creatures, both when they're flying up and when they're on ground level, was pretty fun too. How he had to be creative with how he takes down the monsters. He rips off one of the monster's legs and uses it as a sword because it's sharp enough to cut through the other creatures and stuff, and is like, that could be useful. And like he gets all covered up in like blue blood, which I was thinking, for some reason this is reminding me of Splatoon, and I keep thinking that's ink. Because I just keep thinking, oh my god, this is like Splatoon where he's just getting squirted with these ink blasters or whatever. It's been a while since I played Splatoon, but that's the only thing I kept thinking of when I saw that. And another funny moment that happened, before Jack and Aku find their way out of the monster, Jack finds these pieces of armor and tries it out, and it's once again one of those few moments where you see Jack smile, and it's like, oh, look at that, he's having fun. Like, he just says, I think I look great, and then he asks for Ashi's opinion, and then she's like, you look hideous, and then Jack replies, that's a compliment coming from you. I'll take it. And and yeah, they just proceed to climb up, and of course, the scene where they encounter the antibody creatures over the acid was very fun and very interesting, just because, like, you were hoping that Jack could get out of there, because of this. There's this shark thing that keeps trying to keep them from escaping, and Jack keeps hopping on all these plankton-like creatures or whatever, and eventually he hops on these jellyfish, and it's just like this really clutching moment when he's just trying to get through the exit. I can't, I see, if I say hole, people are gonna misinterpret that. So yeah, I say the exit. It's the exit, and as he tries to find his way out, it's just like, it's slowly closing, and then this monster's just catching up to them, and then at the last moment, you just see the slow-mo, and then he's jumping up, and then he makes it out, and then they make it on the island, and all that other stuff, and that was a lot of cool. That was really cool. The animation for this episode was really top-notch as well. You got to see a lot of color schemes, a lot of very creative colors that were used, mixed together. You saw characters that were pink and blue mixed together in proper ways. You saw neon colors. You saw all this other stuff. It looked really cool. It reminded me of Jack and the Rave, and the plot of this episode was also very similar to parts of Jack and the Scotsman, as well as Jack Under the Sea. That was another one I thought of, mainly because of the organic nature of what the creature looked like. Oh yeah, another one that it looked like was Jack and the Farting Dragon, which is when Jack is trying to help this village from this dragon who has bad gas, and I'm not making this up, so he tries to go inside the dragon to figure out what's wrong, and that's basically what it is. And then you see all these weird creatures and stuff. I'm not making that up, that's an actual episode, Jack and the Farting Dragon, look it up. So yeah, overall, this was a pretty good episode. I'm super excited for next week's episode, because it not only is Aku gonna be in it as a major player, but the Scotsman's coming back. So, yeah. Great episode. Enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next week. And I'll see you guys in the next Jack vlog. Later.